Hey bees, I'm Marie from Humblebee and Me, and today we are going back to basics with this really lovely, super simple moisturizing lotion. If you have never made lotion before, this is a great place to start. This DIY also comes with a couple side parts, a couple extras that I think you might be interested in. The first, of course, is the partner blog post, which is linked in the description box below. The video part of this formulation, of this DIY project, focuses a lot more on the technique of making a lotion, while the blog post features a lot more on the ingredients. So not only kind of the categories of ingredients, but taking a look at what you could use instead and why we need them. So please make sure you are checking out both the blog and the video. They really are like a partnership, and there's lots of great information between them to help you understand what's going on in a lotion and get started making your very own lotions and creams. Thing 2 is a follow-up live stream where I'll be answering the questions that you guys ask in the comments and other questions that I commonly get about lotions. So I'll be answering those questions in a live stream that'll also be interactive, so you can kind of ask follow-up questions and whatnot. So that's going to be this coming Sunday, June 7th at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. That is 4 p.m. in New York, 1 p.m. in Vancouver, and 9 p.m. in London, England. So yeah, if you have questions, leave them in the comments below, and then tune in on Sunday for a follow-up lotion theme live stream here on YouTube. And part 3, if you want to learn even more about making lotions, I am teaching a 100% online live class on how to invent your own lotion at the Unique Bath, Body and Home Conference on Friday, June 12th. I've thrown a link to the conference in the description box below. If it is before June 12th, 2020, and you want to tune in for the live presentation and participate in the live Q&A, you're still 100% able to do that. And if it is after June 12th, the conference organizers will be selling the recordings of the conference until the end of this October, so you can buy the entire conference as a package, and there are lots of wonderful presenters, including Ariane from the Filles de la Mer and Zahida from Handmade in Florida. So you can buy the entire conference, or you can just buy kind of one-off presentations if that's more so kind of what has caught your interest. So yeah, if you want to learn how to invent your own lotion with me, make sure you check that out. And I think that's enough preamble. Please make sure you are reading the partner blog post, as there's lots more information there about ingredients, substitutions, scaling, shelf life, and all that. And then the making part of this video is a little longer than it usually would be for a lotion, as I'm speaking in more detail about what I'm doing as I'm doing it to make this nice and beginner friendly. But come on, let's go make some awesome, super simple moisturizing lotion. We're going to begin by combining the ingredients for our 2 different heated phase in 2 separate heat-resistant glass measuring cups. So this one is a 250 milliliter or 1 cup Pyrex measuring cup, and this one is a 2 cup one. This will be our water phase, our heated water phase, and this will be our heated oil phase. I prefer to put the heated oil phase in the larger of the 2 measuring cups because I like to pour the water phase into the oil phase. I find it comes out of its measuring cup a little more easily than the oil phase does, a little bit more completely, and then we have more room in the larger cup for blending. If they are both 500 milliliter or 2 cup ones, doesn't really matter. So in this measuring cup, I've already weighed out 76.5 grams of distilled water, and to that we're going to add 10 grams vegetable glycerin. For our heated oil phase, you'll need 3 grams Emulsifying Wax NF, and for alternatives and more information on all of these ingredients, please go down to the description box and click through and read the partner blog post. There's a ton more information there. And then we'll also need 10 grams of fractionated coconut oil. Now before we continue, we are going to weigh our water phase, and we're going to write down that weight and make sure to note that it also includes that spatula. We do this so we can replace the water that is lost to evaporation during heating as we heat the 2 heated phases. To heat everything through, we're going to use a water bath. So this is a wide, flat bottom saute pan that has about 1 inch or 3 centimeters of water in the bottom of it. And so by using a water bath, we ensure that we don't overheat or scorch anything, because the water bath insulates everything and keeps our maximum temperature to that of boiling water, so approximately 100 degrees Celsius, depending on the elevation that you live at. And then we also know that once they've been in the water bath for a while, both phases will be the same temperature because they have been sitting in the same water bath. So I'm going to go put this on the stovetop over medium heat for about half an hour until everything has melted through in our oil phase and both phases are at the same temperature. Once everything has melted through and heated to the same temperature, you can remove your water bath from the heat and then remove your measuring cups from the water bath. A quick note about the temperature of the water bath. You want it to be steaming hot, but you don't want it to be hot enough that your measuring cups start to sort of rattle around. Steaming hot is more than enough to get everything to melt through and to work. So now we're going to replace that water that was lost to evaporation. So I'm going to refer back to that number I wrote down earlier, and then I'm going to use some preheated distilled water to top that weight right back up to where it was before we started heating. Give that a quick stir and pour it into our oil phase. So sometimes people think that when you're making a oil in water emulsion, which is what this is, that means that you have to pour the oil phase into the water phase. That is not at all true. The type of emulsion that you get is determined by the emulsifier that you use and has absolutely nothing to do with which phase gets poured into the other. So right away you notice that the mixture turned milky, which is super cool. That's the emulsion forming, right before our eyes. So our next step is going to be using our immersion blender here to blend everything together really thoroughly. So you want to be using an immersion blender and not something like a mix master like you would use to cream butter. Those are designed to incorporate lots of air into things, and that's not what we're trying to do here. So what you're going to do is you're going to pop your immersion blender in here, and you're going to want to start with a few quick bursts. You don't want to just immediately press power and go full bore, because you'll spray hot, very liquid lotion everywhere immediately. So we're going to start with a few quick bursts and then work up to a full blend. All right, so that was about 2 minutes of continuous blending, and you can see that this is still very, very thin. It's also still really quite hot. So we are going to leave this to cool for about 5 minutes and then come back and blend it some more. All right, so it's been about 5 minutes. This is still quite liquidy. It's still going to be quite warm, so we're going to give this another blending. That was about another 2 minutes of blending. This is starting to gain some viscosity, but we kind of put our hands on the side of the measuring cup. We can feel that it's still definitely warm. So we are going to leave this to continue to cool for another 5 minutes and then blend it some more. It's been another 5 minutes, and we are starting to get some sort of proper cream-like viscosity here. It still feels pretty warm. I think this will be our last blending, and then we're going to weigh out our cool down phase. All right, so that was about another 3 minutes of blending, and we've got this really lovely lotiony consistency coming together here. So for a temperature check, it's still warm, but it's not hot. And so the preservative we're using has a maximum temperature of 50 degrees Celsius. For reference, 40 degrees Celsius is about as hot as you generally want a hot tub to be. So if this feels cooler than a hot tub, if this feels like this would be a pretty sort of mediocre soak, you're fine to add the preservative. I'm gonna let this cool a little bit more though while we weigh out our cool down phase. So our cool down phase for this formulation is just one ingredient, our preservative. This is liquid germall plus. So I've chosen liquid germall plus because it has a very broad effective pH range, which means we don't need to test and adjust the pH of this lotion before we add our preservative to it. To weigh it out, we're going to be using a more precise scale. This one goes down to 0.01 grams, whereas the one we were using earlier only goes to 0.1 grams. And so for ingredients where precision is important and we're using them at small amounts, we want to use a more precise scale. So I'm going to weigh the liquid germall plus into this little dish, and we want 0.5 gram. Once your lotion has cooled down, so it feels just kind of like barely warm to the touch, we're going to incorporate our preservative. So sort of like you would if you were making a custard and you were tempering the eggs, I like to add a bit of the lotion to the dish, stir this around until it's nice and smooth, and then stir it back into the full batch. And so that helps reduce the amount of our precious cool down ingredients lost to this little bowl. And with that done, all that's left is to package it up. I designed this lotion to be pump top bottle friendly. So here is a bottle fitted with a pump top. This is a 120 milliliter or 4-ounce one. And I generally find that if you've got a steady hand, this lotion is thin enough that you can pour it into a bottle without needing a funnel. And there we go. So that's pretty darn simple, hey? For a bit of a use demo, here is a version that I made a couple weeks ago. So you can see that it is thin enough that it dispenses from the pump dispenser really, really nicely. Spreads around, really nice slip, no soaping, so you don't get any kind of like white residue working up. It sinks into the skin really quickly and is just really nicely moisturizing and, you know, pretty darn easy. And there you go. So that is how you make a super simple moisturizing lotion. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and please make sure you are reading the partner blog post, which is linked in the description box below. I've included a ton of information in there about the ingredients that we've used, why we've used them, what's going on. So please, please, please go down, click through and read that, or go over to humblebeeandme.com and search for the name of this formulation. And of course, don't forget to tune into the upcoming live stream where I will be answering questions about this formulation. So yeah, thank you so much, and I will see you next time.